So it's my pleasure to introduce the speaker, Dr. K. Radhika, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Civil Engineering, St. Peter's Engineering College, Hyderabad. She has completed her UG in PSNA College of Engineering in the year 2002, and she has completed her PG in Environmental Engineering from GCT Coimbatore. She has completed her doctorate from Anna University in the year 2017. She had 17 years experience in teaching. She got many awards and recognitions, uh, like Sir C.V. Raman Research Publication Premium Award in the year 2017, Asriyavoli Virudu for Best Service in Teaching from Ilakkiya Solai 2017, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Research Publication Award in 2016. She had two patents, published a patent on a remote controlled solar weed removal machine in the year 2020, and she filed a patent on design and development of lightweight pervious concrete pavers using recycled aggregates and plastic paver fillers. Her research areas are solid and hazardous waste management, construction materials, water and wastewater treatment. She has published many national and international journals and also presented 19 papers in international and national conferences. I would like to request Radhika ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the nice introduction. First of all, I would like to thank the management of SRM Valliyamma Engineering College, the head of the department, Dr. D. Elangosa, and the coordinators, Mohan Sundari ma'am, Nandini ma'am, and Lima Rose ma'am, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to interact with the students at this present moment. Thank you, sirs. Now we shall go with the presentation. Good evening, students. This is a very pleasant evening where I could meet you people, and definitely this lecture will not be boredom to you people because it's morely associated with our day-to-day life. So today my topic is on recent advances in solid waste management. So before going into this, I think hope you are all second years and final years are here, and you know at least about what is solid waste and how to manage it. That is what is solid waste management. But we are coming with a new term that is integrated solid waste management. So before going into this term, let me say you what is solid waste management. It's not doesn't mean that what is a solid waste, what we are producing at our home, it's going for disposal. No, there are series of activities which is being done here before it is going to the disposal. So the waste generated from an individual home, or it may be from commercial complexes or from industries, first it will be taken to a proper collection system. Through some collection system, it will be taken to a handling or storage units, and from there it will be taken to the secondary collection systems, or we can say it is a transfer stations. It will be taken to that, and from there it will be get segregated, and those it is required to be for transformation, it will be taken to the required treatment systems or transform systems. Then finally the waste will be taken to the disposal. So these are all the various activities with that of the solid waste management. But what is this integrated solid waste management is, where we are aiming to reduce the waste as much as possible, as well as to increase the recovery, recycle and reuse options. You might have studied that in your UG classes, the 4 R's of solid waste management. It is a mantra of the solid waste management. So just to go before to that of the recent advances, I would like to just discuss what is a statistical analysis, where do we stand in the solid waste generation in this present place. See, this is a survey that is given by Central Pollution Control Board. According to this survey, India is ranking in the topmost generators of solid waste. Very sorry to say that if you are in topmost in other fields, we should be happy, but this we are where we are generating much of the solid waste. See, the most populated country, we know that it is China, and out of this countries also we are the leading position in generating the solid waste. And when we take in our own country, out of the top 10 Indian cities, and we are in the Chennai is in the 3rd place of producing the waste generation. So we are in the highest place still in the city level also. And this is a per capita waste generation, what is being given by the CPCB survey, that is Central Pollution Control Board survey. When you could see here in the year of 2001, the waste generation per capita per day is only 0.2 kg. But when we are coming to the year of 2018, it has been increased tremendous. That is 3-4 times it is increased to about zero point 0.7 and 0.8 kg per day per person. See, this is shows how much waste we have been disposing of each and every day from our own term. And this is a solid waste management itself. We have several categories. We will discuss that. But when we take it up as a municipal solid waste management, it consists of all these materials we daily used to know that. That is, it consists of paper, yard waste, metals, food waste, glass, plastic, wood, rubber, textiles, and others. See, out of this, when you see in this graph from 1960 to 2000, it is a tremendous increase in the waste generation, especially with that of the papers as well as your yard waste. And this is one more survey which is given by Central Pollution Control Board, which shows that the plastic waste generation in Delhi city is about 25,940 tons per day. See, out of this, uncollected waste is 10,000 and waste which is collected and it is being segregated is about 15,000. So out of the top 10 cities for this plastic waste generation, Delhi is in the top and Chennai is in the second position. See, this shows that we are producing each and every day a large amount of waste which has to be taken care of. So when we come to the types of solid waste, I think this solid waste you might have seen, not you might have, you must have seen in every day of your life. That is your food waste, rubbish, ashes and residues, bulky waste, street waste, dead animals, construction and demolition waste, industrial waste and sludges, hazardous waste and horticulture waste. I need not explain you this, I think so. Okay, so these are all the waste which comes under your solid waste. But apart from this, the Central Pollution Control Board has given certain waste as a special waste. Okay, in that category you will come, it comes under your e-waste and other things. So we will discuss that in the other slides. See, but what we have to know is, as a student or as a human being, as a citizen of India, we should know what is the decomposition time for each of the waste. Normally, all people will know the plastic bags will decompose once in a million years. That everyone knows because that awareness has come. But we should also know that even the paper what we are disposing of, that is, it takes 10 to 30 days to decompose. Just we play with paper or we'll we'll draw, we'll write something, we'll crash it up and we'll throw. It itself takes 30 days. And cotton cloths, it takes 2 to 5 months. Wood, it takes 10 to 15 years. And if it is woolen items, it takes 1 year. If it is metal items like tin, aluminium, and any other metal items, it takes 100 to 500 years. Yes? Yes? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay. So tin and aluminium cans, it took about 100 to 500 years. And glass bottles, we are not able to determine similar to that of the plastic bags. See, why do I come to say this is unknowingly or knowingly we dispose daily all these items, which is we are just throwing it off without reusing it up. That should not happen. At least from this day onwards, we should get awareness about the solid waste management systems, and we should at least teach to our family not to waste the or not to throw any things as waste. So this is a waste management hierarchy which we might have heard and which might have learned in our studies. So the most favored option is prevention and the least favored option is disposal. That is what is the solid waste, what we are going to dispose into the field, we have to reduce it up. That is what the waste management hierarchy is at. But look into this graph. See, this is the paradigm shift. What is that? Is earlier what we are saying is we say that it is prevention is the topmost priority. I do agree with that. But that amount of concern what is given for source reduction is being changed now. That means the most important concern has to be given to the source reduction only compared to that of the landfilling. That is the waste which is sent to the land has to be get reduced. And out of that, then we'll go for with other techniques like recycling, composting, and conversing technologies. So here I want to say what is the recent advances. In that I should say, I must say this one of the initiative of our Indian government that is called as Swachh Bharat Mission. We might have heard this, and in many colleges they might have organized such Swachh Bharat Mission. Under that they might have organized some clean technologies. See, what is the Swachh Bharat Mission? Is a Clean India mission which is initiated by the Government of India in 2014 to eliminate the defecation, open defecation, as well as to improve the solid waste management. So this has been carried out in two phases. First phase, it has been till October 2019, which is aims at to create the general awareness among the peoples, okay, as well as to have the good sanitation practices. So under this only government has initiated several toilets installations, all those things. And in phase 2 it is aimed to go for the management of solid and liquid waste. So where does this government start? This is based upon one target which is set by the United Nations, that is called as Sustainable Development Goals. So this is a sustainable development goal which was established by United Nations General Assembly in 2015, where the motto is to get clean water and sanitation for all. Though this motto or these 6 outcome targets, it mainly aims only with the sanitation and drinking, but our Indian government has also taken steps to include this in the Swachh Bharat mission to improve the solid waste management also. So whenever we say about the solid waste, we normally used to say that the solid waste has to be get segregated. In Chennai, where we could see that in most of the places, the Chennai government has started with, the state government has started with it of the segregation process. But frankly speaking, no individual home or most of the individual houses, do not follow this. What actually we have to do is we have to segregate the plastic waste, and I think organic waste will be collected in a particular day, that is a Wednesday or whatever may be, that as per the schedule what is given by the municipality, and we have to segregate the waste and we have to give it up. But we have to know the importance of segregation. So let me see what is the need for the segregation. See, if I am giving a solid waste without any segregation, because as I already said, solid waste consists of n number of materials, like starting from paper till metals and even e-waste, everything will be there. So if I'm not able to sort the solid waste, it will be directly taken to the mechanical biological treatment or incinerator or landfill. That means it will be thrown into the ground. But if I am able to collect it up and properly segregate it, I could segregate the organic waste separately, glass, plastic and metal, paper and cardboard separately. Okay, so this organic waste can be used for anaerobic digestion and composting. See, most of the people might have known this. And whether the glass, plastic and metal and paper and cardboard can be done for recycling. So from this incinerators or from this landfills or from the anaerobic digesters, what is the biogas that is coming from that? That is used for biomethane. So this is the important why we have to segregate the waste and we have to dispose it off, or we have to give to the waste collectors. So these things you might have seen several places, this color bins. That shows that if it is paper, we have to give it blue. If it is plastic, it is yellow. Glass, it is green. And it is metal, it is red. So in India, so this is some biomedical waste. Why this comes also under your solid waste? Why? Because certain times the biomedical waste what we use in our houses now, that will also be get mixed with that waste. So it has to be segregated. So, and why I am giving this also to you people is you should aware that when you are going to hospital, we will be having several colors of dustbins. When we have a blood test and other things, we often used to have a confusion which dustbin we have to put this waste, that cotton waste. Actually, it is a yellow bag. I'm not reading out all these things. I'm just giving you what is the important thing only. So it's a yellow bag where we have to dispose of the cotton, what we use for our dressings, all those things. And mostly in hospitals, we'll maybe having canteens, all those things. So if we use any kitchen type of waste, we have to go for green bags. The other things will be used by the doctors and nurses there. So what is the segregation strategy that is followed by Indian government is? Basic segregation, what is that is, if it is a wet waste, we have to use green bins. And if it is a dry waste, we have to go with it of the blue bin. But if it is any other waste, which is categorized as domestic hazardous waste, that means the e-waste. E-waste means small mobile items or computer parts or laptop parts or even something like a household items. More those what we dispose, that comes under your domestic hazardous waste. And household medical waste, batteries, light bulbs, fluorescent lamps, car batteries, that has to be get segregated and it has to be get recycled separately. It should not mix with that of the waste what we are normally disposing it of. So this is the separation techniques what is adapted here. So where here the waste that is coming out, it will be shredded, it will be first shredded down, that is it will be made into, cut down into pieces, and from that air will be passed on, and when it is air is when the light particles will be get classified and the heavy particles will be dropped down and it will be get removed. This is one type of segregation of the waste. So it is done in a bulk amount. So this is a zigzag air classifier. So here also the same thing is used, but here we are using a cyclone separator. So here whenever the heavy materials is being filled down, and because of cyclone separation, the heavy solids will be get retained down or it will get fall down, and while the other things will be taken to the cyclone separators and it will be removed. So this are all the techniques you might have studied in your books. Okay, so this is your conventional chute type, where here air will be passed at the bottom and the heavy solids will be fall down while the light particles will be moving up to the cyclone. And this is a magnetic separation, and here where we use the magnetic materials will be get separated and non-magnetic materials will be separated separately. So these are all the techniques we have learned in the book, and most of these techniques are being adapted by our government also. So the very important thing what we are saying is about 4 R's. That is a very important mantra of solid waste management. You might have known that, or at least know now. It is a reduce, reuse, recycle and recovery option. I think reduce means we mustn't produce much waste. And reuse means whatever the waste we could possible, we will reuse it up. The better example is our parents. See, our parents, na, even they will not throw small things. They will keep it up and they will say it will be used somewhere else. And next one is here recycle. So what are we could recycle from that? We could able to recycle like glass. We can able to recycle, or the newspapers, it will be collected and it will be sold and it will be recycled. So those things we have known that. But here I am going to see what is the initiation of our Indian government. See, Indian government recently, they have made the Central Pollution Control Board, they have made the new system or new rules for the solid waste management. According to this, they have given an responsibility for the producers, that is called as Extended Producer Responsibility, or the EPR tools. So according to this, the producer, that is the company which is able to produce the goods, they have certain responsibility for the treatment of the goods if it is considered as a waste. See, for example, it is a deposit refund system. This has been followed in Germany, but in our country, they have been recently given. Normally, we used to drink the juices in aluminium cans, tin cans, all those things. Okay, so what is that is we normally throw it up, but if we return it back to that shop owner or to the producers, that will be as a deposit refund system. So where that company will be able to get his profit from the government. And second one is quotas. So what is this quotas is, if the company is able to make certain things as refillable one, certain say if the aluminum cans, it is like a refillable one, that is it can be processed and it can be refilled, then definitely the quota of the government can be given to the company for the establishment of the company or for the continuous running of this company. But still it is not achieved in our country, but in countries like Germany, so all those things, they are already, they have done it. So if these quotas are not achieved now, then the particular company has to shut down its units. And next one is product ban. So if we think that such certain things are to be banned, then if the company or if the government has given a rule that if the recyclability rate or reusable rate is not achieved, then such products can be banned. Okay, in that case, the company has to show that recyclability rate of that particular product or the waste that is coming from their product has to be shown. And product charges is a very good example in Belgium, where they have eco tax is levied on polyvinyl chloride. Since the amount is more, what happens is the company, I mean, that the polyvinyl chloride itself, they have started using it up as less. And this one, I have to say that this is a Godrej, this is a well-known company, I think. So with this extended producer responsibility, this company has now gone for no packaging policy for refrigerators. That means when we buy refrigerators, it will be coming with some package. But that package will the company people itself, they will take it back. Okay, and that is a good initiative that has been done by our Godrej company. And this are all the recycling potential. So what is that? We might have known certain materials which could be recycled, and out of this I could say only a few things which I would like to highlight. One is aluminium. So aluminium, what is the cans we use? Aluminium cans, now it is a recyclable one. And what is the recycling potential of this is, it will not deteriorate through reprocessing, so it can be recycled indefinite times. So that is the main advantage of recycling the aluminium, and therefore it is a high market value. But what are all the main drawback of this recycling potential is, we have to segregate it separately. So if the source segregation or the segregation at the point of the generation of the waste is done, millions of solid waste problems will be get reduced. And next one is batteries. Normally we think that what is the battery we use now for wall clock, whatever may be, that we throw it as such. We doesn't know what is the impact here, but actually it is a poisonous one, or it is, or we can say it is a highly hazardous one, where it contains like heavy metals like lead, cadmium and mercury. You might have seen several types of batteries ranging from wall clocks till car or lorry. We have all these types of batteries. So you could see how much amount of hazardous materials comes over from these batteries. And next one is your construction and demolition waste. So now the government has been given this as a special waste. You might know, so when the building is being constructed and it is demolished, earlier the construction and demolition rate was very less, but nowadays it's been increased tremendously. So we have to go for recycling and reusing option here also. And here next one is glass. And glass also, I have to say this could also be indefinitely recycled, because it will not deteriorate like aluminum. It will not deteriorate through reprocessing. So that is the main advantage of glasses. And paper and cardboard, hope you know this. Then you have known about polyethylene, and here I have to mention about electronic waste, that is the e-waste, what we are using it up. But this e-waste, we have to be get segregated and properly dismantled or disassembled, and then it has to be gone for reused and recycled. So anyway, we will deal this recycle electronic waste also in this. Then thermocol and styrofoam. So this can also be used for further use in sheets or for making furnitures. So this is a recovery option. As I already said, we have gone with 4 R's. First is reduction, second one is reuse, where the Indian government has given with the EPR tools. Then we've seen what are the possible recycling options with that of the materials we are using. Then next comes your recovery chain. So what are all the things we could recover from this waste? We have to recover it up. So the waste generator, as we said, if it is any organic waste, they will normally use it for the animal feed, or it can be used for composting. Normally nowadays we are more aware about kitchen composting, all those things. So we are using the waste in the for this yachts, all those things. So and then if it is recyclable, like your papers and all those things, glass bottles or plastic bottles, we will be sent to that of the recyclables. From there it will be get segregated and it will be get for the recycle industries. And other waste will be taken by the primary collector members, where it will be taken to the transfer unit, because all the waste from a particular area has to be get collected, then only it has to be taken for the further processing. So it can be taken to composting if it is organic waste, or if it is inorganic waste, if any useful products are there, it will be get processed and treated, and it will be taken to the landfills. So this is a recovery facility where what I have to say here is the glass bottles and batteries or any bulky items. What are the recovery process it undergoes is, first it will undergo for a screening with two different screens, and after that it will be segregated as a biodegradable one and non-biodegradable one. If it is biodegradable waste, it will be taken to the composting or biomethanization. If it is a non-biodegradable material, then first it will be segregated as non-ferrous metals as well as ferrous metals. Okay, then it will be shredded up, dried, then it will be taken to the air density separator as I have shown you all that. So this light fraction will be sent to RDF facility. I will say you what is the RDF facility. It is a refuse fuel driven fuel facility. So I will say you in the future slides. And then heavy fraction or inert means the materials which is like useless, like the sand or some other materials, that will be taken to the landfills. So this are all the recovery facilities normally we go for. So this next comes our treatment and disposal. So this also you might have heard about all those things process. So when the solid waste, normally what we see is open dumping, but there are several processes like incineration, composting, pyrolysis, anaerobic digestion. I will say you a little bit about this, then I will go for the advanced technique. So whatever technique we use, there are two major constraints in that. One is your environmental constraints and other one is the economic constraints. See, this is a vermicomposting. You might have seen this several places in Tamil Nadu that vermicomposting manure is available, all those things. But normally earlier they were using this only for waste that is coming from the agriculture. Okay, what is this process? The composting is done with the help of earthworms. What is the main drawback of this process is the earthworms are very sensitive. It has to maintain with certain temperature conditions. So that vermicomposting process has to deal with that. And even it is with that of sensitivity to your heavy metals or glass items. Even broken glasses will also be able to make the earthworms to die. So, but we could make this successful for municipal solid waste treatment also, if it is the organic materials are properly segregated. But the compost which is coming out from this is of high organic manure, which is of rich in nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which could be used for your fields. And this is a composting yard which is consisting of your trommel and conveyor, and this is a compost what we could get it up. So there are different types of composting. You might have learned it. What is that is anaerobic composting and aerobic composting. But for municipal solid waste is concerned, we don't go for aerobic composting because it's of highly costly because of the supply of air and meeting of conditions. But we could go with anaerobic composting, or we used to say that with biomethane production or biogas production. So that is the plant which we normally use it up. And this is your biomethanation production. So what is it? The waste that is coming from this, first it will be made up into a slurry form, or then it will be taken to the anaerobic aerobic digester or anaerobic digester. Then it will be taken to that of the anaerobic digester. That means it may be combined with the aerobic and anaerobic combination, or it may be having two-stage anaerobic process also can be used here. And the methane gas, what it is used will be utilized for your household things. Then usually in villages we might have seen this. So this process nowadays we are using for the waste municipal solid waste management also. And incineration, so this is the second most process important process what we adapted. But what is the difference between open burning and incineration is, in incineration is done in a controlled condition, that's what. But other than this also has the same effect of your pollutions. And but what is the advantage of this incineration is, it's a comparatively hygienic process compared to that of your open things. Okay, and this is the different types of incinerators are there, and this is the mass burn incinerator what we normally use here. So the waste that is coming from here, it will be collected or through a lorry or some truck, it will be disposed of into this system, and from there it will be taken to that of your boiler chamber where it will be get heated, and the waste gas that is coming from that, it consists of minute particles like carbon dioxide, all those things. It will be taken to ESP, electrostatic precipitator. It will be get removed from that of the toxic substances, and then it will be taken to the stack. And the main advantage of this is when the burning of this incineration, some amount of gas will be produced which can be used for the running of your turbines or generators. And this is the other technique. which you may not have here. This is a RDF pelletization. What is this RDF? It is a refuse-driven fuel pelletization. That means the municipal solid waste will be made as small pellets and it can be used for a manure. So here what we do is normally what is the garbage what we had got it, we will segregate it, we'll shred and we'll dry it up. Then it will be based upon the classification. After it is get classified, some blenders or additives will be added to that. So it will become like small pellets. It will be converted into pellets and it will be set up. So this is a picture which is showing this RDF pelletization. Earlier we were used only refuse derived fuel production, but nowadays we are going with RDF fluff, that is shredded unconsolidated RDF. So this pellets are of highly useful for your waste. I mean you can use it for your farming. So this is a picture of yours, where here you will be having a shredder where the waste particles will be get shredded off, and through air classifier the light particles will be removed, but the particles which are of 10 to 15 particle size will be taken to this hot air duct, okay, where the hot air will be passed up and some additives will also be added, so that this waste particles will be converted into pellets and it will be get cooled down and it will stored and it will be set. So this is a waste pelletizer mini machine where it could be convert that into small pellets. And next is your pyrolysis process. See, what is the difference between incineration and pyrolysis? Pyrolysis is partial combustion. Okay, so here it is a thermochemical combustion which is done in the absence of oxygen. And here also external heat sources employed, so that we'll be having all the types of fractions like gaseous, liquid and solid fractions. And this temperature what we maintain here in pyrolysis reactor is 500 to 800 degrees centigrade, but what we use in incinerator is around 1500 to 2000 degrees centigrade. So this pyrolysis, before we are subjecting the municipal solid waste into pyrolysis reactor, it has to be get segregated, and only the processed municipal solid waste only it has to be taken to that of this pyrolysis reactor. That means the metals, glass and ceramics, everything has to be get segregated. That's what I told. The first important step in any solid waste management is a segregation. Then it goes with the water cleansing, where we'll be beating with the condensers, and the heavy liquid, I mean the hot gas what is produced, it will be taken for power generation units, while the tar what is coming out from this waste, it will be taken to that of here roads and other things. Okay, and the gas which is coming out, it will be taken once again to the emission control systems and to ESPs, and it will be get processed before it is discharged into the atmosphere. And this is the gasification process. So here in gasification process, the waste what is being given, it will be first given to the primary gasifier, then to secondary gasifier. So it will be first heated up to higher degrees centigrades, then it will be taken to the gas what is produced will be used for using to drive your boilers. So, but what is the advantage of this? This gasification has been earlier also it's been employed, but the latest advantage of this gasification technique is plasma gasification technique, which is started in Japan. That is the first plasma gasification. What is that? What is the difference between this? Here is the temperature that is maintained here is about from 5000 to 15,000 degrees centigrade. It's extreme hot temperatures. As I already said, incinerator is only in the range of 1000 to 2000, but this is like triple or not more than triple, 5 or 10 times more than that. So here what happens is the waste what is being now given here in this plasma gasification, it will be molted or it will be melted like a molten lava, and it will be taken up and it will be used for some other purposes. And the gas what is coming out from this will be used for your driving of your turbines or any pump systems. But what is the advantage, what is the disadvantage of this, all these techniques like gasification, pyrolysis or plasma gasification is, here the waste segregation is very important, and moreover, the waste what we are going to give this here as a feedstock has to be with certain standards. Unless otherwise, what is the output what we expect, we could not react it up. Okay, we cannot get it up here. So this is a EcoValley plant system what is being adapted in Japan. So we might have known about this. These are all the things what we normally use for our solid waste treatments and disposal things. And next one is your plastic waste management. You might have seen in newspapers and news and in your studies also. Now what is the plastic waste what we are getting it up? by using your conventional processing technology, either it can be used for recycling, or in certain cases they are using in cement plants also as a co-processing material. And we might have seen in bitumen roads also, that we might have seen, so they were using in bitumen roads. But what is the technology under review is plasma pyrolysis. This is, as I already said, it's a very, very high temperature process, and it's, though it is a controlled one, the quality of the feedstock as well as the maintained of your temperature conditions is very, very essential here. And next one is liquid fuel. So these are all the technologies which is under process. And anyway, the disposal is the same, where we go for burning it up by using a incineration, that is your controlled burning, then with your landfilling technologies. So this you might have seen, this polymer coated bitumen road. Normally we use it. I'll just say what is the process here. So what is the plastic waste we are getting it up? It will be first shredded to the required size, and the stone aggregate, it will be heated. The aggregate will be heated, and this polymer plastic waste will be over that, it will be being shredded up, so that it will be get uniformly coated it. And after coating, it will be poured with it of the hot bitumen, and it is used for your plastic roads, and is proven to be a successful technology, and it has been adapted now everywhere. And the ultimate disposal of whatever may be, it is the landfill. That is, the land is our ultimate disposal thing. So we couldn't say that whatever we produce, we can dispose it up, but we humans behave like that manner only nowadays. So all the waste what we generate, we are disposing it up into the landfill, thinking that it is only a place where to save it or where to throw it up. But actually it is not the condition. We are over exploiting our resources, or we are terribly affecting our landfill conditions. But sanitary landfills, as per our technical things, we can make it up as a controlled landfill strategy, where we can provide liners at the bottom. Nowadays we are having geomembrane liners, so that the leachate means the wastewater which is included, which could come out of this solid waste system. This will affect, I mean, this leachate will be affecting our groundwaters, all those things. So in order to prevent that, we will be having a geomembrane layer at the bottom. Then apart from that, we will be having an impermeable layers where the top also, so that there will not be any gas leakage at the top. Okay, so this is a controlled condition, where the waste will be get stored inside the particular storage location underground. And after years, some green covers will be produced, and that land can be utilized for any purpose. But if it's a hazardous waste landfill, we cannot utilize that land. And normally the hazardous waste landfills, normally it is located in areas like Rajasthan, where no public or no people or no residential areas is nearby. And this is a typical anatomy of a landfill. As I already said, we'll be having a geological buffer. Over that, we'll be having a clay liner. Normally, we prefer clay liner and geomembrane liners to prevent the leachate population. Then you'll be having a granular, that is a stone pebbles or layer of stone for a certain thickness. And here you could see here geotextiles as well as high density polyethylene liner is also be given, just to prevent the leachate to get inside. And over this waste, we have a compacted soil, then we have a protective cover, and over that we will be having a vegetation. So this is how we are excavating the earth, and we are going to keep it up, the waste inside the earth, and we are going to close it up, and that is the process where we say that is a landfill. But whatever the technology we use, our Indian government, initially they were not doing it up, but nowadays they are coming with this EIA, that is Environmental Impact Assessment. So where we have to find out the impact of anything what we do. It may be a building we construct, or it may be a landfill site we do it, whatever may be that environmental impact assessment is mandatory, and we have to get stratified in that, or we have to get the clearance of this. So under this, we have two category, category A and category B, that is especially for your municipal solid waste. Okay, so category A is what is that is if the treatment facility is within 10 km of sensitive zones, or if it is of 20 megawatts thermal power plants of non-hazardous municipal solid waste. So those categories will come under your category A. And if it is beyond this 10 kilometers or beyond this 20 megawatts of thermal power production, and all those things will be coming under the category B. So under this process, we have to get the clearance from the government. See, this is Coimbatore City Municipal Corporation. If you go there, you can, if any student is there, you can just see this. This is a transfer station. Initially, it was like this, but with our government initiative and other things, see here the transfer station is how good it looks. So this is how the transfer station is one place where, as I already said, the waste will be collected for a certain period of time. It will be taken for disposal or processing things. So as I already said, apart from the solid waste, we have a special waste, and out of the special waste, all these things comes under your special waste categories. That is your what are all your e-waste like printer cartridges, electronic pods, and batteries, and even from your bleachers, car batteries, chemicals, insecticides, light bulbs, paints, photographic chemicals, thermometers, discarded medicines. All those things comes under your special waste, though it is coming under our domestic waste. And this is a C&D waste. C&D waste is a construction demolition waste. So this is given by the Central Public Health Environmental Engineering Organization, which shows that 25 to 30 million tons of construction and demolition waste is being produced in our country. So here this construction demolition waste, we can adapt two process, but the general process what we are adapting day to day life is a dry process, where that construction demolition waste what we are getting it up, it is crushed and it will be gets cleaned up and it will be used as an alternate material in the construction. But in wet process, this will be conveyed to that of your water, and after screening and thickening, it will be made as slurry forms, and from the slurry forms, it can be done with a filter press and it can be made as a blocks. But in India, we are not majorly using it up. We go only for the first process. And this is a place in New Delhi where the old residential colony of 2,500 dwelling units is fully been constructed with construction and demolition waste, and a new policy, new colony is being developed. So this is a real good achievement where we have reused and recycled our waste. And next special type of waste, we know this is e-waste. I'm not going to in depth with e-waste, but we should know as a e-waste along with solid waste. But why that is, normally as a human being or as a citizen, what we do is we also throw all our waste particles. If it is not of valuable things, we also throw it along with our organic waste. So here, this are all the as per CPCB, there are two criterias. Under the criteria is based upon the electrical articles that waste are classified as your e-waste. So what are those? It may be a cell phone or computer or television. That are all the waste. The waste what is normally we throw it up. It is not of use, so we throw it up. That is your e-waste. That is the first criteria where we had earlier. But now we have a criteria 2 that is based upon the reasons of being a waste. See, this phone model was not been, it was an old model. So we have thrown it up and we have started with new model. Now all students, we all do like that. If the latest model phone comes, we'll throw it up the old model. We doesn't know what is the impact of it. As I already said, it consists of heavy metals like lead, cadmium, mercury, all those things, which causes a serious impact to the public as well as to the environment. So this are all the waste. Though we could be able to recycle and reuse it, we throw it up because it is of older one. And the type 3 of this is what is that is certain parts of the thing will be not working. Say in a TV, certain parts like cathode ray tube will not work. But no other way, instead of what we think, instead of paying 10,000 and doing it, we'll get a new TV. So this is how we go for it as a waste. So what are the toxic contents of e-waste? As I already said, if it is a printed circuit boards, lead, cadmium, mercury, all those things are even very, very toxic constituents what is present. Even see what is the switches and monitors, computer batteries, capacitors, transformers, all those things comes under your e-waste. So what is the effect of this e-waste? So if you could know this, then ultimately we don't dispose of this waste as very quickly as possible. See, mercury is very important for our neurological development. Okay, so that is cause the respiratory failures and death. And out of this e-waste, the lead is the most harmful one, which will cause to the damage to the brain as well as the nervous system. And chromium, all these things, you know, it causes your irritation or cancers, all those things. So what is that is e-waste, though it is a recent phenomenon, and we could say that e-waste can be collected and recycled, but the amount of e-waste what is disposed of now, it is 20 to 50 million metric tons. It's very no, it's not easy possible to recycle it up. See, this is the EPA report, that is Environmental Protection Agency. He has given, they have given the report in April 2007, that is the resale in US of this e-waste is only 5%, while the recycling is 2%, but what we produce is more than that. Okay, and so here we could see that then they are exported for reuse 61%. Very developing countries, now for those developing countries this waste have been exported. Okay, so though they are not using it up, they are being exported up. So what is the noble methods of disposing of this e-waste is, we'll go for here certain disposing techniques. I'll show you the treatment techniques as well as the disposing techniques. So this is a management tool. Earlier we had only solid waste management, but nowadays we are going with it of the e-waste management tools that has been implemented in India also by Central Pollution Control Board. So according to this, as I already said, we have category 1 where we'll be having personal computers, laptops, notepads, printers, electrical and electronic items. All those things comes under category 1. And even your telephones, all those things comes. And category 2 will be your television sets, refrigerators, or any electrical and electronic items comes under your e-waste. So what is the e-waste disposal method? Landfilling, as I already said, landfilling is one of the controlled means of disposing into the land, that's all. But here one more is acid bath is also another treatment system or another disposal system. So you could say this is your acid bath technology. What is it? Is a particular board, circuit board or whatever may be that. It will be immersed in the sulfuric acid for 12 hours. Okay, why do we do this? Is to recover copper. Copper is a useful metal, I think you know this. This copper is used for your copper wires, all those things. So in order to recover this, we are using it in a sulfuric acid for about 12 hours to extract this metal. But this is highly expensive, and it is also highly, it has to be done in a careful situation. Then next comes your incineration. Incineration is widely used technology. I told you it is under controlled condition. We are burning it up with high temperature of 1000 to 2000 degrees centigrade. And recycling of e-waste is what is advisable, but normally they don't do. Though the producers or the consumers never cares about this recycling of e-waste. But this is the most important method where we have to disassemble the pots. If it is of any pots, we can use it up, or we can go for upgrading that particular system. Then if any other materials recovery, we should be able to recover it up before it is thrown as a waste. And other one is reuse of electronic devices, but normally we people are not adapting it up. If it is a old electronic equipment, just we'll throw it up and we are buying it up with the new things, but we don't understand what is the implication we made into this environment. So why should we save disposal this e-waste? Because landfill, whatever we are disposing, it's going to go only to the land. Okay, so ultimately, if it is a heavy metals or other things, it will be affecting the groundwater, and those groundwater only we are drinking it up. So automatically it affects the human beings also. And incineration means it's the airborne, as I already said, though it is controlled when the air, the waste gas that is coming out is once again causes the air pollution. And acid baths, it has to be done in a careful situation. I said it is a dangerous one, and it causes a water contamination and soil contamination, because the acid what it is after it is processed, where do we throw it up? We throw either it in water, in soil, and to ensure the exported materials are handled properly. So what are the effects of e-waste? As I already said, the toxic acids like mercury, lead, cadmium, all those things comes from this. So when it is come to the soil, it will be not only causes your toxic fumes, it also affects the livelihood of the people as well as the ecology. And this is, I could say, the out of this electronic devices and the pots, what is coming, it is a highly coming out from this e-waste, which is about nearly 58,000 tons. So which causes the brain, it affects the brain and nervous system. So this is a very important substance we have to take care of while we dispose of the electronic waste items. And apart from that, you have polyvinyl chlorinated biphenyls or chlorofluorocarbons, all those things we might have seen. This chlorofluorocarbons is responsible for the ozone layer depletion, all those things. So here comes your recent technologies. Normally as a civil engineer or whatever may be the engineer, we normally think that our core domain is very important and we go with that. But actually with the invent of your ICT technology, that is your information and communication technology, we have to go with a multidisciplinary type of learning. That is why the government itself, they are framing with a new rule of going with multidisciplinary teaching things. Why? Because you might have known that even if we construct a house or something, nowadays we are going with automatic door system, automatic hand washing systems, all those things. So here where this ICT technology plays a very important role. So here also in our government has also initiated certain ICT technology for the waste transformation. One is online platforms. In certain areas it is been done, and in certain areas it is not done. So what is this online platform is how we track one or see suppose if I'm buying something in Amazon. In earlier cases, we don't buy the old items, but nowadays people so interested to buy to get the second sale items also. So this online platforms are very helpful to this. So where we could select and we can resell our old value. So that is one of the ICT technology. And next one is your analytics. So what is the amount of waste generated and what is the waste type? All those things has to be get analyzed. Okay, so for this we require this information technology where we should have for the smooth collection and transport of the waste. You might have seen when you are traveling in bus, we have a GPS tracker, so we could see where the GPS, where the vehicle is going on. Similarly, the waste collection systems or waste generation systems can also be used with GPS. Don't think that GPS and GIS are pertaining to only electronic and instrumentation or electronic and communication department. It's more related with it of the civil department. Okay, we are more concerned with it of the remote sensing and GIS. Okay, so on this, authentic data is very important for your municipal solid waste management, whether we do it in your urban level or whether we do it in a city level. And next one is crowdsourcing, that is citizens has to be encouraged to report if there is any waste related activities or whether it is any urgent attention, it has to be given to that of the authorities. For this, the citizen cannot go directly to that. Instead, they can use any of this ICT technologies and they can go for it may be a social media or a web or a mobile, wherever it can, they can use it up for this. Okay, so that way it helps with this. And next one is sensor based waste collection. So earlier the waste collections are not made with it of the sensor things, but nowadays it's been sorted with the sensor waste bin, so that we could able to track where the waste bins has been emptied or where it has been filled, and so that it will be get save cost. But in our country we haven't implemented, but it is in line to implement it up. Then automatic waste collection system, that is here we could see in our houses door collection is being done. But if it is an automatic collection system is done now, it will be very good for the things. Okay, in foreign countries we could see in every apartments they have a chute. Okay, so in front of the apartment door, if they open the chute door and if they just drop the waste, automatically it will come to the dustbin at the bottom. So only the pickers can the collectors, waste collectors can collect it only from the dustbins. But in our country, every door to door we have a collection system. So if it is done like a waste automated collection system, na, it will be good. But in certain apartments in Chennai also they have started with chute system. And this GPS devices and sensors on waste truck, as I already said, how do we monitor the bus? The same way we can monitor the waste trucks also to optimize the collection efficiency so that it can be easily collected. Next one is sensor based sorting. This is very important because nowadays we are using only human beings to sorting the waste materials, to separate the papers, or it may be like glass materials or ferrous items, non-ferrous items, we use it up. But if the sensor could do it up with the help of your ultraviolet spectrum or infrared spectrum, then the human employment, though we can say that employment is reduced, but at the other case we have to consider that the human health is also be taken care of here. So the sensor based sorting will be used for this. And next one is your pollution sensors. This is very much important where we have to give in all industries. So this pollution sensors to monitor the pollution levels. And next one is energy simulation, that is from waste to energy, how it could be done. Nowadays we started with that. So where the municipal solid waste units almost they have a biomethanization plants or biogas plants where it will be converted into that of the waste. And final thing what we have to do is with the landfill management, and that is very important thing, because landfill just by closing of this, it's not the work is over. We have to monitor periodically how this been done until for a certain period of 20 to 25 years. So that could be help with the help of your smart landfill management. So this is the integrated asset management systems. This is to locate where is that assets of your transfer stations are located and how to monitor that we have this. And business process automation, earlier it was taken by government, nowadays it's been given to the private material as a business or automation, so that private sectors can take up the after getting the government license, they can take up as a recycling unit and they can recycle it up the waste. And what is the workforce and resource management as well as city performance management can also be done with the help of your digital technologies and big data analytics. So what I have to say, this is all these things, it's all almost relevant to us. Okay, so where we have to learn in addition to our normal learning things, we have to know the GIS and GPS technologies also. And nowadays we are going with it of your IoT and artificial intelligence. Don't think that it's only related to that of your computer science department, but civil department or agriculture department, who may be that, or as a citizen, we have to update with this latest technologies also. And whatever may be that, our main aim is to go with it of the zero based system. So what is this zero based system? If we go with the zero based system, we could see that more employment opportunities will be available for the human beings. So this I think you might have known, but what is the cleanest city in India is Indore. See, could you see this is like an office, like a computer center, na? Like HCL or something, Infosys Technologies, but not so. It is a municipal corporation in Indore where they are tracking the garbage vans with the help of GIS technologies. That's what I'm saying. We have to know with this technologies, and as per the government survey, that is Swachh Sarvekshan, that is cleanliness survey, this Indore has been ranking for the 4 consecutive years as the highest cleanliness in India. That is a cleanliness city in India, and it's the most populated city. It is in Madhya Pradesh. It is most populated city. What is that is daily the collector who is coming in the garbage collector in the van, they used to sing a song stating that Indore is the cleanest one, like that. They motivate the people in that itself to collect the waste. See how much the people involvement is also being done. And when we are in Chennai, though we are Chennai is a populous metropolitan city, we are far away from all these things. Okay, where we have to go several steps forward to come, like at least to like Indore. And this is a transfer station in Indore, and 10 transfer stations are there in Indore, where the garbage will be weighed and it will be get segregated and it will be sent to the processing units. And this is a mobile van, that is a composting van that is near the food market. But when we go near our Coimbatore market at all, it will be very difficult for us to enter at a certain period of time. But here they could see all the food waste that is coming out now. It has been given here for composting. So this is a technology. It's not done in somewhere in some other country. It is being done in our country, in our Indian state. And this is a biomethanization facility which is done with it of your vegetable and fruit market, and they are able to produce some good amount of electricity also from this, which is used as a fuel for city buses as well as a cooking fuel. It's great to see this. Also, as a young generation people, you must come forward to implement all these techniques. As I already said, the oldest techniques are there, but we have to modernize this with the help of the ICT technologies, so that the human power will be get reduced, or the human health will be it will not be get affected, and it will be going for a good waste management system. So let's, in this day, we'll have a pledge that we have only one planet and we have only one atmosphere. So whatever we do, we stand one, and let's stop wasting the things and let's start composting it up. So let's us join our hands together for a healthy, livable and lovable planet. Thank you guys. Okay guys, at least from this day onwards, as an individual, as a student or as a youngster, please before you dispose anything as a waste, think it of twice or thrice. If you could make any recycling potential or reuse potential, try to do it up. Or you could do some projects so that we can come up with new ideas for this recycling and reuse potentials. Thank you, ma'am. And once again, I thank the head of the department as well as the organizers and the principal and management of SRM Malema Institute to give me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sirs.
And it's not all about solid waste management, it's all about landfill. And I've gone through some articles related to landfill gas management, ma'am. Do you have any idea about it?
Actually, landfills, one of the major drawback of landfill is the gas production, what is coming from this. Okay, so here we have a technology or we have a method where we could trap out these gases and we have to use it for the other purposes. But this landfill gas trapping technology or that night, it takes, it has to be properly managed. What to say that it takes several years for this gas management to be done. So it's not a easy task to do that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So it's actually practically impossible, or we must take more care while
Yeah, we
trapping.
must make a proper care, but what to say, I mean, it takes several years for the gas management to be done. It is not practical. So suppose if I'm building a landfill site within a year, I couldn't expect that gas production can be there and it can be used for any other purpose. It's not possible with that. So certain technologies we have to use to trap the gases, and only for some few years we'll be able to get the gases. After that, that landfill will be get obsolete. Though it will be used up, it will be get obsolete and will not be able to get the gas production. But there will be, what is that main problem with that? We have to segregate the leachate as well as the gas separately, and we have to do this process. So if there is rainwater percolation and other things, this process will become tedious to get the gas production. So the gas management system is little bit tedious process.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. K. Radhika, for taking out a time from her busy schedule and enlightening us with her knowledge. The way our guest started the lecture with the statistical data of waste generation actually showed us where we stand at present. It would have undoubtedly made every student who listened to this lecture to feel that we should definitely take up this lecture to next level and start working on it in future, either as a project or research. Once again, I would like to thank ma'am for revealing the facts in solid waste management. Thank you so much, ma'am. I would
Thank
like
you.
to thank our beloved principal sir, vice principal sir, and head of our department for giving us permission to organize this guest lecture. I would extend my thanks to all the faculty members who helped in one way or other to make this event possible. Finally, I thank all the students for paying their attention in learning, and I'm pretty sure this lecture will definitely help you all in your studies and future. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.